Welcome to GlowDreams, where stories become gentle dreams. Tonight, we'll take a slow, peaceful walk through misty paths, guided by glowing lanterns, into a secret town hidden beneath the quiet of the night. Before we begin, take a deep breath and let go of any worries you've carried throughout the day. Feel the softness in your body as you breathe out. There's nothing to do now but listen, rest, and drift gently into this moment. Imagine yourself standing on a narrow path. The night air is cool and kind, with a soft breeze carrying the scent of autumn leaves and a hint of sweet pumpkin spice. As you look ahead, little lights begin to flicker through the mist, pumpkin lanterns glowing warmly, as if waiting just for you. Will you follow them? With every step, the world becomes quieter, and the lights guide you gently forward. Step by step, you feel lighter, as if the night is wrapping you in a peaceful embrace. And so, our journey begins. Let's see where the lanterns will take us tonight. The night had arrived quietly, wrapping the world in a cool breeze and soft shadows. It was one of those nights when the world felt slower, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Somewhere along a lonely forest path, a boy named Ethan found himself lost, with only the whisper of the wind to keep him company. The path before him twisted and turned, disappearing into a sea of mist. No matter how far he walked, everything around him remained still and silent, as if the forest was asleep. Ethan's steps were steady, but inside, he felt a small twinge of worry. The trees stood tall and silent, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. He looked behind him and saw only mist. The way back was gone, swallowed by the thick fog. All that remained was the path in front of him, disappearing deeper into the unknown. Just as he began to wonder if he would ever find his way, a small flicker of light appeared ahead. It was faint, barely visible through the swirling mist. For a moment, Ethan hesitated, but the soft glow seemed to call out to him, like a friendly voice in the quiet night. Without much thought, he took a step toward it. As he walked closer, the light became clearer. It wasn't a star or a firefly. It was a small pumpkin lantern. Its warm, orange glow flickered gently in the breeze, casting a soft circle of light on the ground. Ethan knelt beside it, noticing that the lantern wore a playful grin, as if it had been waiting for him. Then, to his surprise, Another pumpkin lantern flickered on a little farther down the path. And then another, and another, each one glowing with the same warm light, as if forming a trail just for him. Ethan stood up and followed the lanterns, feeling a little more hopeful with every step. The lanterns guided him through the mist, their glow steady and calm. Ethan noticed how the path beneath his feet began to change. It became smoother, almost as if it had been paved by gentle hands long ago. He continued to follow the trail, the mist swirling softly around his ankles, as if it, too, was part of this quiet journey. Soon, the path widened, and the mist thinned just enough to reveal a small town nestled deep within the forest. Ethan stopped in his tracks, his eyes wide with wonder. The town was unlike anything he had ever seen. Every house, every porch, every street corner was illuminated by glowing pumpkin lanterns. They sat on windowsills, lined the streets, and hung from strings above the narrow lanes, casting a warm, golden light that flickered gently in the breeze. It was as if the entire town was alive with soft, glowing magic. But the strangest part was the silence. There were no people, no voices, no sounds of footsteps. Only the faint hum of the wind and the flicker of lanterns in the night. The town felt peaceful, but also a little lonely, as if it had been waiting quietly for someone to arrive. Ethan stepped cautiously into the town square. In the center of the square stood a large stone fountain, and perched atop the fountain was the largest pumpkin lantern he had ever seen. It glowed softly, its light steady and calm, as if it was the heart of the town, keeping everything safe and warm. He walked closer to the fountain, curious about this strange, glowing place. The air around him felt different now, not quite heavy, but filled with something unspoken, like a secret waiting to be uncovered. Ethan reached out a hand to touch the side of the fountain, and just as his fingers brushed the cool stone, he heard a small voice behind him. "Hello," the voice said, light as the breeze. Ethan turned slowly, and there, floating just above the ground, was a tiny pumpkin spirit. It was round and cheerful, with a soft orange glow flickering inside its plump little body. The spirit had bright, curious eyes and a grin that matched the playful lanterns lining the streets. "Welcome," the pumpkin spirit said with a twinkle in his eye. "You've found our town. Not many do, you know." Ethan blinked, unsure if he was dreaming. Who are you?" he asked, his voice quiet in the still night. The spirit bobbed in the air, its tiny flame flickering joyfully. "I'm Pumpkin," it said. "I'm the guardian of this town, and I've been waiting for someone just like you." Ethan frowned slightly. "Waiting for me?" Pumpkin nodded. "You see, this town is special. A long time ago, it was filled with people, happy, kind people. But one night, a magic spell was cast over the town, and all the people were turned into lanterns. They've been sleeping ever since, waiting for someone to help them wake up." Ethan glanced around at the glowing pumpkins lining the streets. "So, all these lanterns, they're people?" "Exactly," Pumpkin said. "And there's only one way to break the spell. We need to find the midnight light. It's hidden deep in the forest, but only someone brave enough can reach it." Ethan felt a flutter of nerves in his chest. "And you think I can do it?" Pumpkin floated closer, his warm glow casting soft shadows on Ethan's face. "I know you can. The lanterns wouldn't have led you here if they didn't believe in you." Ethan looked around at the quiet town, at the rows of lanterns flickering softly in the night. He felt a strange warmth spread through him, a sense of belonging he hadn't expected. "What happens if we find the midnight light?" he asked softly. "If we find it," Pumpkin said, "the spell will be broken, and the people will wake up. The town will come alive again, and everything will be as it was." Ethan took a deep breath. He didn't know why, but he felt a quiet sense of purpose settle over him, like this was exactly where he was meant to be. Pumpkin bobbed happily in the air. "So, what do you say? Will you help us?" Ethan looked at the glowing lanterns around him, at the quiet, waiting town, and then back at Pumpkin's hopeful smile. He gave a small nod. "All right," he said. "I'll help." Pumpkin's flame flickered brightly with joy. "Wonderful! The forest isn't far. Let's take it slow. There's no need to rush." With that, Pumpkin floated toward the edge of the square, his soft light leading the way. Ethan followed, feeling the cool night air on his skin and the gentle glow of lanterns all around him. And so, their journey began, quiet, gentle, and full of soft magic, with the promise of a brighter tomorrow waiting just beyond the mist. Ethan followed Pumpkin, the small spirit with a warm orange glow, as they drifted away from the town square. The path ahead was narrow, lined with more glowing lanterns that flickered gently. Ethan still couldn't quite grasp the reality of the situation. An enchanted town, spirits trapped in pumpkins, and now a quest to find the mysterious midnight light. It all felt surreal, like a dream he didn't want to wake from. Pumpkin floated beside him, humming a cheerful tune. His small, round body bobbed playfully in the air, his flickering flame casting soft shadows on the mist-covered ground. It's been a long time since anyone came to help, Pumpkin said after a moment. You know, the forest isn't as scary as it seems once you understand it. But it likes to test people, make them think they're lost or confused. Ethan glanced at the forest ahead, where mist curled around the trunks of tall trees. The branches above swayed gently in the night breeze, creating patterns of shadows on the forest floor. The air smelled of damp leaves, moss, and faint traces of something sweet, like honey or cinnamon. So, why does the midnight light matter so much? Ethan asked, hoping to understand his task better. Pumpkin spun lazily in the air, his flame brightening momentarily. Ah, the midnight light. It's no ordinary lantern. It carries the heart of the town's magic. Without it, the spell on the townspeople can never be broken. The midnight light is hidden deep in the forest to keep it safe, but only someone kind and brave can reach it. Ethan's brow furrowed. If it's been hidden for so long, why hasn't anyone else tried to find it? Pumpkin gave a little chuckle. Oh, they've tried. But the forest knows how to trick people. It creates illusions, makes paths disappear, shows things that aren't really there. Most people get lost before they can even get close. He paused, his voice becoming softer. But I think you can make it. The lanterns led you here, after all. Ethan felt a flicker of determination. Okay, he said. So, what should I expect in the forest? Pumpkin's flame danced thoughtfully. well. There will be riddles. The forest loves riddles. And there are guardians, spirits who protect the midnight light. They aren't dangerous, just a bit stubborn. They'll want to know if you're truly worthy. They reached the edge of the forest where the lanterns stopped. The mist thickened here, swirling gently around their feet. Pumpkin's flame flickered, casting a small circle of light in the fog. The forest begins here, Pumpkin whispered. Once we go in, we'll need to trust each other. Stay close to me, and no matter what you see, don't lose focus. Ethan nodded, a little nervous but ready. With Pumpkin leading the way, they stepped into the forest. As they moved deeper into the forest, the air grew cooler and the mist swirled thicker around them. The path twisted and turned, disappearing and reappearing with every step they took. Ethan had to remind himself to stay calm. Pumpkin floated steadily ahead, his flame unwavering. After a while, they reached a clearing where the path split into 3 directions. Each path looked identical, but Ethan had a feeling the choice wasn't as simple as it seemed. Pumpkin hovered in the air, his flame dimming slightly. This is one of the forest's tricks, he said. The paths may look the same, but only one of them will lead us closer to the midnight light. The others will circle us back to the beginning. Ethan looked down each path, trying to find any clue that might help him choose. But the mist was too thick, and the trees on either side looked identical. How do we know which one to take? Pumpkin bobbed thoughtfully. This is where the heart matters more than the mind. Close your eyes. No, not literally. And feel which path seems right. Don't overthink it. Just trust your instincts. Ethan took a deep breath and let himself relax. He thought about the journey so far, how the lanterns had guided him, how the town had felt like it had been waiting for him. Slowly, he felt a gentle pull toward the path on the left. This one, he said, pointing to the leftmost path. Pumpkin's flame brightened. Good choice. Let's go. They continued down the chosen path, and as they walked, the mist began to thin slightly, as if rewarding them for making the right decision. Further down the path, They came across an ancient oak tree with branches that spread wide like wings. Perched on one of the branches was a large owl, its feathers shimmering faintly in the lantern's light. The owl blinked slowly, then spoke in a deep, melodic voice. To pass, you must answer a riddle, the owl said. Get it wrong, and you'll have to start your journey over. Ethan exchanged a glance with Pumpkin, who gave an encouraging nod. Go ahead, Ethan said to the owl. We're ready. The owl's golden eyes glimmered. Here's your riddle. I am not alive, but I grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. What am I? Ethan thought hard. The answer danced on the edge of his mind, just out of reach. He looked to Pumpkin, whose flame flickered gently, as if to say, "You've got this." Suddenly, it clicked. Fire, Ethan said confidently. The owl gave a slow nod. Correct. You may continue. The path beyond the oak tree opened, and Ethan felt a wave of relief. As they neared the heart of the forest, they came to a still pond, its surface so smooth it looked like glass. In the center of the pond stood a stone archway, and beneath it floated a shimmering lantern, a small glimpse of the midnight light. But as Ethan stepped closer, his reflection appeared in the water and spoke. Are you sure you're ready? His reflection asked. Once you light the midnight light, things will change. Are you willing to leave behind what you know for what lies ahead? Ethan stared at his reflection, feeling a strange mix of fear and resolve. I don't know what's ahead, he admitted, but I know I need to help. His reflection gave a small, approving nod. The water rippled gently, and the path to the stone archway cleared. Finally, Ethan and Pumpkin reached the lantern at the center of the forest. The midnight light glowed brighter than any lantern Ethan had seen, its flame steady and strong, as if it had been waiting for him all along. Pumpkin floated beside him, his voice soft. This is it. The heart of the town's magic. Ethan reached out, feeling the warmth of the lantern's glow. It wasn't just light. It was hope, joy, and the promise of a new beginning. With a steady hand, Ethan touched the midnight light. The flame inside flickered joyfully, and a wave of warmth spread through the forest, as if the entire world had exhaled in relief. The magic was awakening, and Ethan knew their journey was far from over. But for now, the midnight light was safe in his hands, and the town's long slumber was finally coming to an end. As Ethan and Pumpkin began their journey back with the midnight light, the atmosphere in the forest felt different, heavier, more mysterious. The mist thickened around them again, swirling faster as if the forest was trying to keep them from returning to the town. The weight of the midnight light in Ethan's hands felt reassuring, but he sensed that the forest wasn't done testing him yet. After walking for some time, Ethan saw shadows moving within the mist. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but soon, 3 glowing figures emerged from the mist, their forms ethereal yet powerful. They floated just above the ground, their bodies flickering like candle flames, and each one radiated a soft, warm glow. "These are the guardians of light," Pumpkin whispered, floating closer to Ethan. "They protect the midnight light and ensure only those who are truly worthy can take it back to the town." The first guardian, a tall figure with a soft, glowing aura, spoke in a calm, steady voice. "You carry the heart of the town in your hands, young traveler. Do you have the strength to see this through?" Many have failed at this point, doubting themselves. The second guardian, whose form flickered like a flame in the wind, floated forward. His voice was gentle but firm. "Doubt weakens the light. Fear dims it. Can you continue without letting fear overcome you?" Ethan hesitated for a moment. He thought back to everything he had faced, the riddles, the challenges, the uncertainty. He wasn't fearless, but he understood now that courage wasn't about being without fear. It was about moving forward despite it. "I'm not without doubt," Ethan admitted, his voice steady. "But I believe that helping this town is the right thing to do, and I won't let fear stop me." The third guardian, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. Her voice was soft like a breeze, and her form shimmered with light. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. You have proven yourself worthy. With that, the mist around them began to thin, and the guardians stepped aside, revealing the path back to the town. The warmth of the midnight light grew stronger in Ethan's hands, as if it too was affirming his choice. "Thank you," Ethan said quietly, as he and Pumpkin continued on the cleared path, heading toward the town that awaited them. As they emerged from the forest, the village came into view. The mist that had once veiled the town now lifted, revealing the familiar streets lined with glowing pumpkin lanterns. But this time, the air felt different. There was a quiet anticipation, as though the entire town was holding its breath, waiting for what was to come. Ethan carried the midnight light carefully, its glow steady and strong. Pumpkin floated beside him, his little flame glowing brighter than ever. "This is it, Ethan. The moment we've been waiting for." The villagers began to gather in the square, drawn by the glow of the midnight light. Though they still appeared as pumpkin lanterns, their flames flickered more brightly, as if sensing that their time in the lanterns was coming to an end. In the center of the square stood the grand pumpkin lantern atop the fountain, its flame weak and dim. Ethan approached it with reverence, knowing that placing the midnight light here would break the spell and awaken the town. "Are you ready?" Pumpkin asked, his voice filled with excitement and a hint of nervousness. Ethan nodded, his heart beating faster. He carefully placed the midnight light at the base of the grand pumpkin. For a moment, there was silence. The town seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a soft whoosh, the flame of the midnight light leapt from its lantern into the grand pumpkin. A wave of light spread outward, rippling through the town like a gentle breeze. One by one, the pumpkin lanterns scattered throughout the village began to glow brighter and brighter until they transformed. Each pumpkin became a villager, their bodies solid and real, their faces filled with joy and wonder as they awakened from their long slumber. The villagers looked around in awe, some embracing each other, others laughing with relief. The once quiet town was now filled with the sounds of life. Laughter, conversation, and the joyful hum of magic restored. Ethan stepped back, watching the transformation unfold with a sense of awe. The town he had first encountered as a quiet, mist-shrouded place was now vibrant and alive. The spell had been broken. "Look," someone cried. "We're free." The villagers gathered around Ethan, their faces glowing with gratitude. One of the villagers, an elderly man with kind eyes, stepped forward. "You've given us our lives back," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "We will never forget what you've done." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He had come to this town by chance, but now he realized that this was exactly where he was meant to be. The celebration began almost immediately. The villagers lit up the square with lanterns, stringing them from house to house, filling the air with warm, golden light. Tables were set with food, warm bread, roasted vegetables, and sweet pumpkin pie, and the villagers danced to music that filled the air with joy. Pumpkin floated through the crowd, his flame glowing brighter than ever. "Look at what you've done, Ethan," he exclaimed, his voice full of excitement. "The town is alive again." Ethan smiled, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only a temporary moment for him. As much as he loved this place and the people, he knew that his journey was not over. There were other places, other adventures waiting for him beyond the mist. As the celebration continued into the night, Ethan found a quiet corner by the fountain and sat down. He watched as the villagers laughed, ate, and danced, their faces glowing with happiness. For the first time in a long while, he felt at peace. Pumpkin floated down beside him. "You know, you don't have to leave," he said softly. "You could stay here. The town would welcome you. We'd be happy to have you." Ethan looked at Pumpkin, feeling a pang of sadness at the thought of saying goodbye. "I know," he said quietly, "but I think there are other places I need to go, other adventures I need to have." Pumpkin's flame flickered softly, as if nodding in understanding. "I thought you might say that. But remember, you'll always have a place here, and you'll always carry the light of this town with you, no matter where you go." Ethan smiled, feeling the truth in Pumpkin's words. The midnight light, the magic he had found here, wasn't just something he could leave behind. It was a part of him now, a part of his heart. As the night wore on and the celebration began to quiet, the villagers gathered once more to say their final goodbyes. One of the villagers handed Ethan a small lantern, its flame flickering gently. "Take this with you," she said. "A reminder of what you've done here and the light you carry within you." Ethan accepted the lantern with gratitude, his heart full of warmth. As he walked toward the edge of the town, the mist began to rise again, swirling around the streets like a gentle curtain closing on the night. pumpkin floated beside him, his flame flickering gently in the cool night air. "Thank you, Ethan," he said softly, "for everything." Ethan nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. "Goodbye, pumpkin," he said. "Take care of everyone." And with that, Ethan stepped into the mist. The soft glow of the lantern in his hands guided his way, and the sounds of the village faded into the background, like a gentle melody fading at the end of a song. As Ethan walked through the mist, the world around him grew softer, quieter. The mist swirled around his feet, not as a barrier, but as a gentle guide, leading him forward. The lantern he carried glowed softly, casting a warm light on the path ahead. With each step, the village seemed to drift farther away, becoming a memory, a dream that lingered at the edges of his mind. But the warmth of the midnight light stayed with him, a quiet flame in his heart that would guide him wherever his journey led. Ethan didn't know where the path would take him next, but he felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that the magic of the misty pumpkin town would always be with him. As he continued walking, the mist began to thin, and the world around him grew clearer. The trees that had once loomed dark and mysterious now seemed familiar, welcoming. The path stretched out before him, and the stars above began to twinkle through the thinning fog. Ethan smiled to himself, feeling the weight of the journey lifting from his shoulders. He had helped the town, broken the spell, and found a new light within himself. And now, as he stepped out of the mist, he knew that his adventure was far from over. But for now, it was time to rest. The night wrapped around him like a soft blanket, and the lantern in his hands flickered gently, guiding him toward the next chapter of his journey. With a final, peaceful sigh, Ethan closed his eyes, letting the warmth of the lantern's light carry him into a deep, restful sleep.